G'day and welcome. As you can see today, we've got the super sophisticated Lexus LS 600 HL. This is their top of the range hybrid limousine, and it is absolutely jam-packed full of technological features. It's almost as if Lexus decided they'd find everything they possibly could and pack it into one car just because they could, and that's what they've done with this limousine. Every so often in this job you get a car that surprises you, and this Lexus is one of those vehicles. Everywhere you turn there's something else that Lexus have thought about to do to make driving easy and using the technology very easy as well. Let's just have a good look at this car and see what it's all about, and then we'll go for a drive. Internally, the Lexus is exactly as you would expect it to be. It's just immaculate and perfect. The leather is a really fine soft touch type leather on the seats. The particular model that we have is the 4-seater limousine, and as you can see there is just more than adequate leg room in the back for the passengers. Sitting in the rear passenger seat, you are surrounded by absolute luxury. Not only is it an individual rear seat with a centre console that has 2 cup holders there, it has 4-way individually climate controlled air conditioning zones, so I can have my air conditioning set at 25 degrees and my passenger can have it at 18 degrees. A bit daft, but you can do it. Each of the seats is air conditioned, and one of the other features that it has on the rear left passenger seat is it's a recliner with a Shiatsu massage. Let's just have a look at that now. Everything's push button. There's more electric motors in this car than you'd even care to think about, but I can absolutely assure you it all works effortlessly. And then tucked away neatly in here is the controls for the DVD system and for the massage. So, what do we want today? Just wake me when we get there, thank you. That sound you hear is the silence of the electric motors. Unbelievably, this car is still running. Not bad for a thumping 6-litre V8 motor. The silence actually is quite eerie, especially when you start up the motor for the first time. It's dead silent. You don't hear a thing. You think you haven't started it. And then when you take off, it is absolutely whisper quiet until you start moving a bit and the engine kicks in. It's quite eerie. It's quite disconcerting to people standing around you. Quite often you get people looking at you thinking, is that car going or not? And yet it's moving. So I guess that's the beauty of the hybrid motor. One of the first things you'll notice when you jump inside the Lexus is just how comfortable and well put together everything is. It's almost as if someone designed the perfect car, and here it is. It's an amazingly simple vehicle to use, particularly with so much technology that's packed into it. And that's one of the Lexus key thought processes, and that is that everything is easy to use, easy to own, and that's exactly what it is. The other thing you notice about the car is that although it's 5.15 metres in length, it's only 5 metres long and weighs about 2.5 tonnes, just a touch under. It does not feel like a big car at all. Put your foot down and the massive V8 will just take off and push this car. Using the hybrid motor, it's got about 327 kilowatts as a peak power output and about 520 newton meters of torque. But believe me, you never need to use all that. This car just glides silently along, and what you have here is an ultra luxurious sports long-term tourer that gives you fantastic economy as well. What we've generally do is around about 12.2 litres per 100 k's around the city, and on a trip we're down to about 8 or 9 litres per 100 k's. So we've been averaging just a touch over 10 in the whole time we've had the vehicle, and that's fantastic for a car this size with a big thumping V8 motor giving you 327 kilowatts of power. The gearbox itself is a CVT gearbox with 8 sequential shift points, and you really don't notice when it changes. You can also take off in either power, hybrid or snow facilities, but again, everything is just seamless. One of the other things, as you'd expect for a car that costs more than $250,000, is the internal fit and finish is second to none. Again, something Lexus do immaculately well. So what we're going to do is test out Lexus's self-parking facility. So we've pulled up next to, in this particular case, a caravan that we're going to park next to. Put it into reverse, we press the self-park facility, we adjust the frame, we press on where we want to park. Might move that out a touch. Forward, you hit OK, and there we go. My hands are nowhere near the steering wheel. I am simply feathering the brakes to make sure it doesn't go too fast. Of course, we did all the checks to make sure no one was behind us. And we're just tucking away nicely into the gutter for a perfect reverse park behind a caravan. There's only 2 cars on the market at the moment that have this technology. This is the top of the line Lexus, this is what we're in now, and the Volkswagen Tiguan as an option.
The assist is finished.
Well, there you have the Lexus LS600 HL. I'm really not sure I've done this car justice in terms of how good it is. And at $260,000 Australian, can you consider it a bargain? I guess you can actually, because it just has so much stuff that's been packed into it. The key to the hybrid part of the vehicle is a bank of 20 units sitting here behind the back seat. It's a completely sealed unit that has its own separate air conditioning system that runs and keeps those cool on the way through. Again, massive technology. One of the disadvantages of that though is the fact that you've got a very small boot. For a car this size, it's almost the size of a small sedan, because all that space is taken up with the batteries, and that's one of the big downsides of this limousine. So it really is more an around town weekend type vehicle as opposed to a long distance luxury cruiser, simply because you don't have very much boot space. There's just a list a mile long of things that this car has, but just a couple of things to think about. For example, there's a few world firsts. This has the first LED low beam lights of any car in the world. It's the first luxury limousine with a self-park facility, as we've already seen. Technology made easy to use. Well, I guess if you're really looking for something in this style of vehicle, have a look at the Lexus. It is a world first. It sets the benchmark for the other manufacturers, and it just does everything you'd want it to do, as you'd expect for a $250,000 car. Would I buy one? I don't know. I don't know that the hybrid technology is worth the extra over the normal vehicle. But it certainly does what it's meant to do, and it certainly fits the purpose perfectly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.